Shalom. Well, praise to Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shah Bashem Harakakdash. Don't want to see other apostles of great mills done it real well, and Shalom to all the brothers who like certain the truth, pushing his word to the four corners. Um, this article on the Telegraph. Just read it. Russia open to sending hypersonic missiles to Venezuela, weapon capable of carrying a nuclear warhead among those that could be dispatched to tackle Trump's drugs offensive. And yeah, the first thing that will come to mind is just the what do you call it, the Cuban Missile Crisis, where you had Russia had already sent. Well, they were hosting missiles on Cuba, and that basically was the bedrock of a whole escalation between the U.S. and the Soviet Union at the time, where it was getting to the point where it was very close to shit popping off. But you have it happening now again. But it's, well, actually, no, it's not quite on the same scale because the missiles aren't already there. With the Cuban Missile Crisis, like they'd already delivered them and snuck them over, and it was only like satellite imaging, I think, that let them, discover they were there, and then that's where, because I can't remember if it was, I'd have to double check, because I believe it was in response to that where they were put, or did they put the missiles in Turkey first? I can't remember. It was either the US put the missiles in Turkey first and the missiles in Cuba were a response to, or vice versa. Either way, it was because they were both basically able to have their hand at each other's throats. They were thinking like, yo, someone's gonna have to make the move first, and this again, because, well, I'll get into it. So it says Russia could provide its most advanced hypersonic missiles to Venezuela amid frayed relations with the United States. The okay, now, the Kremlin claims the Oreshnik missile is impossible to intercept and can carry conventional and nuclear warheads. Alexei Zaravlyov, the deputy chairman of Russia's Parliamentary Defense Committee, warned that the Americans may be in for some surprises as he opened the door to a weapons transfer to Venezuela. I see no obstacles to supplying a friendly country with new developments, such as the Oreshnik, or let's say the well-proven caliber missiles. Mr. Zaralyov told the Russian news site Gazeta.ru. The Oreshnik missile, translating as hazel tree, is capable of striking any target across the European continent in under an hour if launched from Russia or Belarus, according to Moscow. And yeah, Belarus is basically, arm in arm with Russia. Was it Orban? I think it's Orban that's over there. But yeah, the the hypersonic missiles, they're meant to move at the speed where functionally the current defense capabilities ain't able to deal with it. And then even then, it's like, well, this is what they were saying. Like they were looking to develop laser based anti-missile technologies. But then how far along that is, who knows? And then even with these defenses, it's not even been pushed to the limit of where it would have to then be. It can be certified as 100% any of these defenses, and then we already know as well from the prophecy, the missiles are gonna hit the target anyway. But even with that, what was I thinking? What was a movie? Watchmen. Watchmen's a good movie, kind of, because it covers that, the mindset of that Soviet Union, America conflict, which you're in the midst of, and then with that mindset, the what's it called, the Soviet Union thingy mindset. The fuck was I? Just fucking completely lost the thought. Oh no, it was, yeah. So with that, they had it as far as that the defense against the Russians was Dr. Manhattan, where it's like essentially, because it's you had spiritual powers. So he could stop the missiles that way. But then they'll basically, like, if he even misses one, you lose the whole like eastern seaboard or something. And they said like even if we get the first strike, the first trade, it's like you're gonna use the whole east coast. These are the kind of the realities of how the missiles are. When it's gonna touch, even if you have a defense system, and that's not even like hypersonic missiles. When you get to hypersonic missiles, then it's a different kettle of fish, because they're moving at a different speed, and it's the defenses ain't even built for that. So this is what Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, has insisted the missiles are so mighty that using several of them in a strike with conventional warheads could be just as catastrophic as a nuclear attack. The Oreshnik was first used in eastern Ukrainian city of Dnipro in November 2024 in what Putin said was a reprisal to Ukraine's use of long-range weaponry hailing from the US and UK. And yeah, that was when Biden gave the green light for them to use it. Then I think it was France said yes. I think everyone else said no to them using their weaponries, because Putin said it's like, okay, if them and use it, then we'll basically, that's the green light for us to go. There's a green light for us to to consider you guys as part of the conflict. But that escalation didn't heat up. There's still prophecies to go, because there's what it's understood that Maduro, the Venezuelan president, reached out to Putin personally to plead for military assistance amid increased U.S. military presence in the Caribbean. Yeah, you got Trump doing strikes. Mr. Maduro asked for Russia to boost air defenses, including restoring Russian Sukhoi Su-30M Mark II aircraft already in Venezuela's possession, and acquiring 14 sets of missiles. So yeah, and their allies. And that's the thing is part of the role of Russia is to be that guard. So they might send them, but so they might not. We'll kind of have to wait and see. Because again, it's with the Cuban Missile Crisis, that was like a big focal point. And someone as trigger happy as Trump, we'll have to see how this shit works out. But it's it's fucking crazy. Because yeah, he's been doing strikes on what they say are what would the word be? Drug traffickers said, they're sending drugs. And so there's Satan too. But yeah, they're they've already built the built the well, they've got the justification to send the missiles, but then we'll kind of see how it actually shakes out. Because more like, I don't know, a hypersonic missile is kind of wild, but who knows? Could happen. If I read this, Ezekiel 38, something verse 3, and it says, and say, thus saith the Most High Power, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I'll bring thee forth. And yeah, them hooks have been put in. The same sentiment that died off between the US and Russia, that's all been back on for a minute. Despite Trump saying he's going to get in office and end, the war in Ukraine, that didn't happen. And it's been, a back and forth. Hooks and their jaws, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Uh, Goman, all his bands, of the House of Torgamar of the North Quarters and all his bands, and many people with thee. Be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. So yeah, with those, allied nations, the Libyas, the Persians, the Ethiopias, saying, be thou a guard unto them. And that's the role it is. It's, providing those military arms and defensive posturing as well. That's why, Syria had Russian backing as well. They'll ally Iran as well. Had the backing. Iran was even sending, them Iranian drones to send them Iranian drones over to assist with the war in Ukraine. And same with China as well. What was it? North Korea was sending troops over to the war in Ukraine. So they've got that relationship already set. And then, Russia's being a guard where when they have their own little conflicts, then, they're sending the military arms. Same thing that's, the US is getting down with. But then what? It's great escalation. But then the key thing is with the mark, man. That's what's gonna pop. Because even with that, the strikes being done on Venezuela, that's linked in with the whole narrative of, oh, you've got drug dealers and whatnot all coming up, selling drugs, bringing XYZ into the US, and that is something that then allows for justification towards more the beast system being implemented as far as a defense, a guard, or whatever against to keep America pure and safe. The reality of it is, it's all prophecy, really. Everything, is bound within that. Read this, Matthew 12:24. And when the Pharisees heard it, they said, this fellow doth cast out devils, but by Beelzebub, and the prince of the devils. And Yahushua knew their thoughts, and said unto them, every kingdom divided unto itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And that's really the key aspect. Is this is it's Esau against Esau. It's E on E crime. These men are contending, and getting into scuffs over basically trying to secure that throne. And these things are these are plans being orchestrated by the elite, where they're trying to utilize the this chaos to their benefit. They're basically trying to utilize this chaos they're trying to utilize this chaos to secure a system, a kingdom for themselves that can never be taken down. But the ludicrous part of it is built off what? It's Satan on Satan, man. You got you got the rule, and then you just got one portion of your kingdom blowing up the other portion. That don't make no sense. And if Satan casts out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? And if by Beelzebub cast out devils, by whom do your children cast them out? Therefore they shall be your judges. And yeah, if Satan is dividing against himself, how shall his kingdom stand? And that's the reality of it. Because even with they have the class struggle of the lower class and then the elite, they're basically realizing they've just been hung out to dry. They were meant to have a slice of the kingdom, but that all got thrown in the bin. That dream of a guy just working and affording a house, a car, a dog, 2 kids and a wife, that's all in the bin. There's various ways in which Satan's divided against himself, but it's really because the key thing is he's basically a man that's just been given the earth for a set time, for a period, for a season. And you know, once that shit's done, it's you know, it's a wrap. Hmm. Under him, shit can't prosper for too long, man. And these, you know, these the way these military conflicts are shaking out, these interests are expressed between them is plain as day. But yeah, I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there. Hey, shalom, shalom.